English and Literacy, a guide for story writing at early level. So in this video, we're going to guide you through the basics of what writing looks like at early level. Throughout it, we're going to remind you to visit our learning blog, which has videos and guides for handwriting. This will help your child with the formation and with pencil control, but we will touch upon this throughout the video. So, believe it or not, writing and storytelling starts at an early age. You might see those scribbles as just being some fun and play, but this is really where the children begin to learn to write. You can see throughout this table that there is some progression here towards even just making some shapes, and then the scribbles look a little bit like cursive writing. Then we go into mark making, and then using the sounds that perhaps they're learning in class, and then finally being able to actually write sentences, and we'll talk you through this throughout the video. Okay, so drawing a picture may seem like fun for you, but actually that's your child learning to write and create stories. If they give you a drawing, try to read it as if it was a story and ask your child to tell you about it. So what's going on here, or what are they doing in this part of the picture? It really helps them to create a narrative to what they have made. Also, you can encourage your child to draw pictures using Play-Doh and Lego. The point of this is really for them to be able to create a narrative, not just about simply using a pencil. At this point, we would also encourage you to model stories to them by telling them a story, and that's really how they learn that very beginning of a structure of a story. Now again, we've got another table here. We can see all the different emergent writing that's happening, right up to the conventional spelling and handwriting that you would recognise as a proper story. But all the way through here, that child is telling a story. Okay, so the next stage will be the pupil retelling the story with the use of more detailed pictures. So in school, the teacher will also model simple pictures to show the child how to move on from scribbles, or maybe just simple drawings, to put in more detail in it, and that might actually be over a couple of pictures. So the one we've got here is from a book called Foundations of Writing. This is here what the teacher has modelled. So one bird is then showing being lazy in the sky while the other birds are collecting the twigs for the nest. The teacher says she'd like you to show the busy bird in danger and draws a line to the twig near where the cat is hiding, and the cat creeps towards it. Finally, the teacher says she's going to have the lazy bird come down to frighten the cat so that the busy bird can escape. So you can see that it's got more and more detail, and yeah, there is still that element of it looks a bit scribbly, but there's a story there. There's a beginning, a middle and an end. Then we would go on to setting a scene. Oh, what about that hill? What's special about that hill? Maybe there's mud, maybe there's a puddle. Who's going to be in your story? So it's more than just a picture, it's developing the landscape of that picture, it's developing the characters that you're going to see, all of which helps you to create a story once you are ready for that more formal version of it. So at this point, the teacher may give the child different tools to make with. So quite often in school, we maybe give a pencil or a really thin tipped marker pen. And that really helps them to, especially the marker pen, to really flow with their drawings and their mark making. We also encourage the correct way to hold it. And again, as I mentioned earlier, we have our handwriting section on our blog. So one of the ways we would maybe use is nip it, flip it and grip it. And there's more details on that in the handwriting section. But the child would also be encouraged to then at this stage use role play to tell stories, maybe with a puppet or with a shop, writing a shopping list. And we'll go into that in a bit more detail in just a moment. So, straight away you might walk into your child's nursery or school and see a home corner or a shop corner. This is all the beginning of creative writing. So they're going into the shop and they've got their shopping list, or they've maybe written a letter to Santa and they've put it into the post office. They've made pretend recipes in a kitchen. All of it is exactly where we want them to be, and that's why we use that imagination, because eventually they will be writing real recipes, real letters and real shopping lists. Now you can replicate these at home, and remember, it could just be scribbles, but the children are taking it really seriously. Later on, we might see the teacher being a scribe for the pupil. So this would involve retelling the story by the child to the teacher and the teacher writing it. It would involve a discussion and the teacher helping the child to organise ideas. So it wouldn't just simply be the teacher saying, right, I'll write down everything you say. The teacher would prompt them. What's going on in this picture? What's happening to this person? Oh, what's this in the sky? Oh, why did you choose this? What's going to happen next? All of those questions are developing a narrative in the child's mind. We know that children are ready to learn formal letter formation through their drawings. So again, it's not just about having some fun art time. And there's a video online which we will share on our learning blog so that you can just click on that link, and it's about how to draw a detailed stick man. The pupils at this stage may also overwrite what the teacher has written and then underwrite. We'll share some more information about that on our learning blog so that you can see the benefits of overwriting. And the next step for them would be to write underneath to copy what the teacher's written. So you can see that there is a progression there. So from this diagram here from Foundations of Writing, we know children who can make figures like this are ready to form letters of the alphabet. At nursery and school, children will develop their motor skills. Again, the handwriting page will give you lots more detail about the motor skill function. When children are introduced to formal letter formation, they're going to practice in lots of different ways. And you'll see some of those ways via videos from our Primary 1 classroom. There's perhaps some air writing or writing on the hand with your finger. With the two examples we've got here is writing in some sand, writing in some salt. We could be doing it in anything at all which allows that child really to practice the formation, and it's about the correct formation. So you can see the arrow here and the arrow on that card. It's about going all the way around, up, down and flick. And that really begins to help them to think about that formation. It's really important to do it in that way because it helps them to form it correctly and to identify the correct letter and sound. If they were just doing it as a quick circle and a tail, they may start to get it mixed up with other sounds. Also, this way you can see the link between the A and the curly K because they're all going round in that same direction. Again, it's just about lots of practice and that muscle memory. So here's some more examples of that. Down here we've got pipe cleaners to make the sound. I really like this one with our road. The car is travelling up and down. There's the very messy shaving foam letters, but might be something you have in the house. Just leave it on the side of a bath or in a sink and get them to practice their letter formation that way. We also ask our children, usually at Primary 1 and at nursery, to practice using these dotted lines. And that really, you can see there some of the formation letters and just practicing that pencil control. Okay, so after that, the next level is for the pupils to be taught through phonics, and that happens at Primary 1. And this process you might hear it called encoding. So you might hear encoding and decoding. Decoding is when they're reading and encoding is when they are spelling it or they're sounding it out to be able to work out the correct spelling. So we're really asking them for encoding to understand how sounds work to form the words. Take a word apart sound by sound, and we're going to look at how we do that in school. Remember the letter that goes with the sound, including what that letter looks like. So that's why it's really important to practice that correct formation. And string or blend the letters together on paper to create words. So encoding takes all of those parts together for the child just to be able to spell one word. Okay, so at Moorfoot and across Inverclyde, we use different techniques to encourage our pupils to use phonics. And one of these approaches is the North Lanarkshire Active Literacy approach. Now you may see this on our learning blog as well. There's more detail there because I'm just going to go over it briefly just now. So the process behind it is for children to say the word, make and break the word, then blend it, then read it, and then write it. So let's look at that process. This is the alphabetic board here that we've got. The children would then be given a word, sad. They would say it, sad. They would make it, so they would pull the letters down. They would break it, so they'd put the sound up further away, then the A, then the D, and then to blend it, they would put all the sounds together. And once they've done that, they would read the final word and then write it underneath. And as I said, there's a really more detailed video about this on our blog. Throughout the process, pupils are also going to be taking part in dictation exercises where the teacher will read a word or a sentence and the pupil will copy it down. This is another element to help them with their encoding. Okay, teachers will continue to model through story reading just the way that you have at home. They'll be identifying sounds as they do this, punctuation, they'll discuss the character and plot, and the pupils will also be asked to retell the story. Teachers use this to help with the process of ordering it, and that's sometimes called sequencing. So, to sequence a familiar story and then retell the teacher what happened in their own words is actually the beginning of storytelling. So again, it's using a familiar story to scaffold that version, and obviously using their own words, they'll think about that structure, that beginning, middle and end. Once a child is ready, story writing begins with personal experiences. The teacher will scaffold it. So you might see in their story writing jotters or their news jotters, at the weekend and the pupils will provide a range of answers and the teachers will help them to create a bank of words. So they might ask them, what did you do at the weekend? I went to the cinema. They would write that up on the board. And what did you do? I went into Fun World. I saw my gran. They would write all that up. Alternatively, the teacher may give them a word bank to help them write a sentence. So today the weather is, and there would be a word bank with pictures to help them. The pupil will be encouraged to use word attack phonics skills to encode their words just the way that we've been seeing. And you've also seen that the child has been asked to draw a picture of what they have written. This allows the child to show visually that they understand their own words. The next step will be for pupils to write imaginatively. This may involve a picture and a word bank, and the teacher will once again model and possibly scaffold initially. So there'll be a picture and what's happening in the picture. It may just be something simple like the boy sat on the chair. And at this point, the teacher would encourage the use of punctuation, and that's taught alongside writing. And we will go into this in further detail in future videos. Learners are now encouraged to extend these sentences using a joining word like and or but. Again, joining words are taught alongside the writing, so we'll look at that in a different video. At this point, we ask our pupils to only use one joining word in a sentence and not at the beginning of the sentence. It really helps them and stops the sentences from going on a bit similar to, and then I did this, and then I did that, and the and. We don't want them to get into those bad habits. We also model this in class through activities where we join two separate sentences together using and or but, so that they get used to the purpose of that joining word. So how do we assess? How do we know that that progression is happening in class? Well, these are the Inverclyde assessments. So this is record 1. I'll actually take you onto this page just now and you'll see record 1 and record 2. So the one on the left is where we begin at early level, and for us to complete all that writing at early level, we want both those sheets to be most of those ticks achieved across both of those. Now you'll see that there's 3 boxes here. That's because we assess them 3 times throughout the year, and it helps us to measure that progression, but also we give them different ways to assess. So for example, there might be an opportunity where they use and they use but perhaps not in the second piece, because that gives them more opportunity to phonic attempts to spell familiar words. So we give them lots of different chances and lots of different styles of writing to really achieve that level. So using a pencil and holding effectively, marks on paper, you can see that what we've been discussing at the very beginning of that video, that's what we're assessing. Knows names and sounds of some, so not all of our sounds. They might be able to form some, not all of them, just some at this point. And as you move on to the second side, you'll see here, they knows the names and sounds of lowercase and some uppercase. Form most, so it's gone from some to most, okay? And at this point, you can see that they're becoming a little bit more detailed. So invents own stories and characters to share with others in play, imaginative and real context. That's something we spoke about, the role play, the shops, the kitchen. Writes about their own experience and feelings, real or imaginary, using appropriate vocabulary to convey meaning. Now that sounds really complicated, but for us, appropriate vocabulary would just be the word banks that we've been using over the last term or couple of terms. And writes to convey ideas, messages, and information in different ways in play, imaginative, and real context. So again, it's coming back to that imagination. So have a look across these and you'll see really what we're working towards at early level. Thank you.